So we will have a couple of people here on this platform, but I think the majority of people are actually on the Instagram one. Sorry, on the LinkedIn one.
Amazing.
So we'll be there. Just making sure that we are kind of, yeah. So I think it's okay. Hmm. Yeah, cool. Let me just. Thank you so much, Soukayna, for being here today. I'm so excited for this session. And I can see that we have some people starting to join. So we'll give it like another maybe 2 minutes and then we kick off. How have you been?
Thank you so much for having me, Rizan. I've been good so far. Second week of Ramadan, so excited. How about you? Can you hear me, Rizan?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So yeah, I was saying I've been doing good. How are you? How is everything going?
I'm doing great. It's a sunny day in Dublin, so nothing beats a sunny day in Dublin.
Lucky you, that doesn't happen often, so definitely enjoy it.
Good. Yeah. Like we don't get a lot of those here. So whenever there's one, I'm definitely gonna run out after this session. So today we want to kind of just have a very chill vibes. We want to talk about dream jobs. I think this is something that you kind of can add a lot to. We want to talk about dream job, pursuing it, figuring it out, and we want to have a very chill vibes. And we want to have people who are joining us today to feel free to send their questions for us, and let's just, as I mentioned, let's chill and have fun with this.
Sounds good. Let's get started.
Nice. So let's start with you telling us about you, Soukayna. Who are you?
Oh, that's a very deep question, but making it short. Hi, everyone. My name is Soukayna. I'm 26. I was previously working at Google, where I actually had the chance to meet Razan as well. And I'm currently working as a sales manager in a tech company in Germany. But I also started my side hustle as a founder. So I essentially help people on LinkedIn to build their personal brand, to unlock their own potential, and to make sure that they can attract the best opportunities for themselves out there. So that's a very quick overview on the professional side. On the personal side, I love traveling. I love coffee. I'm originally Moroccan, but I grew up in Italy, so double nationality. And I moved to France when I was 16, and then to Germany when I was 21, and then to Ireland to join Google 2 years ago. That I quit then in 2022 to continue my endeavors. And that's it.
Nice. It's a lot. I think one of the things that always attracted me toward you, Sakina, is just being able to juggle a lot of things at the same time and do a lot of things at the same time. To be able to do everything that you do with 26 years of age is something that's inspiring for me. I don't remember like where I am always when I was 26, 26. But also for a lot of folk out there who are kind of questioning where they are, what they're doing, and whether where they are is the right place for them. So what I want to start with is just kind of touch base on how did you came to identify that this is your dream job?
Good question. So I think it took me a lot of time, right, to understand what it is exactly that I wanted to do. And just to touch base on the first thing that you said as well, I think when you're passionate about what you do, then you don't really look at the hours. So it makes it easier to manage different things at the same time. When it comes to me and personal branding, like I started posted on LinkedIn in 2022, so it's been a couple of years now. And initially, I just enjoyed the side of creating content. So I wanted to share my adventures, to share my learnings, and to make sure that I could help others in their journey as well. And then what started happening once I discovered personal branding is that I realized that I don't just like sharing my learnings, but I like helping people to become the best version of themselves. And essentially, personal branding is a type of marketing where the goal is to really help people to enhance their profile by understanding their skills, understanding their worth in terms of experience as well, and making sure they have the right mindset to go out there and to get those opportunities. And this is something that kind of came as a mix of personal branding, but also personal development, which were two things that I really enjoyed. So that's when I decided that this is something that I definitely want to pursue as a side hustle.
So it was a journey. You kind of started with just doing things and then eventually end up
Exactly.
where you are today.
Finally, totally. And I was also thinking about this a couple of days ago, and I realized that I was unconsciously doing things that led me to doing what I was doing now. Like, for example, when I was in college, something that I really enjoyed doing was like helping my friends with their CVs and their cover letters. And I like to like rephrase how they portray their experience because sometimes when a person doesn't have confidence in themselves, they undermine the way their resume or their cover letter looks. They don't use the right words. They don't think that their experience is worth enough. And one thing that I really loved doing was making their cover letter or their CV glow by using the right words, formulating things differently. And I asked myself a couple of days ago, and I was like, this happened like 6 or 7 years ago, and I was already into personal branding, and I didn't even know that it was that exactly.
I love that because I think part of the discovery journey is for some people it's reflection, for some people doing things that they kind of discover that they actually like, and I think also one of the way to kind of find out your dream job is to go back to what you used to do when you were young and things that you kind of enjoy. I remember one of my coaches told me that in order to know what you really like, make a list of things that you do them without actually thinking of the time. Like when you lose track of time, these are
Mhm.
the things that you kind of just gives you that passion. So Kaina, you touched on a couple of things that in what you said that's very, very important to me. I kind of forgetting my question list now. I think one of the things that you mentioned as part of your growth journey into personal branding is personal development.
Yeah.
You kind of equate the two together, building that personal brand with the personal development piece. Tell me more about that.
Absolutely. So I think when it comes to personal branding, the key is to understand your worth as a person. So if I am self confident, if I know who I am, what I bring to the table, what are my skills, and what impact I can have, then those are the feelings that the people who surround me will be getting from the conversation that they have with me. And this is like really the thing that fascinates me about personal branding as a kind of marketing is that it's all tied up to the mindset and to the way that you think about yourself. Because also, like when you build your own personal brand on LinkedIn, the mistake that so many people make is that they wait for opportunities to come to them because they're too shy to put themselves out there. If you have the right mindset, if you know what you bring to the table, you will be someone who's proactive. You will be someone who gets out there, approaches people, approaches opportunities, and puts your own name, on the table before waiting for someone else to do it. And that's where I think it's directly related because you will see that the people who are the most successful in this are the ones who are confident, but also the ones who are like, hey, I'm here, I can do this, I'm going to take on this opportunity. They don't doubt or second doubt their skills.
So So, Karen, I love the conversation about the confidence because I think that's a hot water and a topic that a lot of people kind of sometimes shy to talk about. So, I want to
Mhm.
kind of bring that elephant to the room. Uh,
Absolutely.
a lot of people doubt themselves, and a lot of people think what I have or what I'm thinking or what I'm writing is not good enough. Some people are very afraid of the judgment, what I'm not gonna like people are not gonna like. There's so much
Mhm.
stuff out there. Like, how do you personally deal with that? Because I believe all of us go through that at stage of our lives. But what, and also, what's your advice for those who kind of grapple with these kind of feelings?
Absolutely, very valid question, and I agree with you. Every one of us struggles with it. No matter how confident you get, you will always have those moments where you doubt yourself twice. I think for me, in the beginning, it was really about fake it until you make it. So if I feel like I'm not ready for something, I'm still gonna throw myself in the water, and I will figure it out later. And this is a mantra that has stayed with me for the past years, and it can be stressful sometimes, but at the end of the day, I'm always happy for the outcome. Like, for example, one thing that was really getting out of my comfort zone for me was public speaking. I was scared of it. I also like considered that coming from my background, I moved to France when I was 16. I didn't speak French. I was always kind of shy and trying to like not make too much noise. And moving from that to speaking at international events, at global conferences and forums, that's something that it took me a lot of second thought to get to. But at the end of the day, I was like, if I want to do it, then I can do it. And I just took this step forward, and the opportunities came, and once I embraced them, then I was able to make the most out of it.
Amazing. So let's go back to your headline. I love your
Yeah.
headline. You mentioned on your headlines that I help you build your personal brand. So how we talked about how personal brand could actually help with your dream job. But I
Mhm.
want to hear from you. How do you do that? How do you help people get to there?
Absolutely. So there are three steps that we usually take. The first step is that I have a call with, the client that I'm working with. We try to assess his objectives. We try to understand what is his end goal on LinkedIn and what is his target audience. So there are two types of clients that I work with most of the time. Some of them are into career coaching, so they want to land a new job. And the other ones are mostly founders who want to reach new clients and onboard them. So the strategy that we will use will be completely different. But anyway, we have these first calls where we establish the objectives. The second thing would be to, as I call it, revamp their LinkedIn profile. So transform it from a static page to something that says a story about them and reflects their personality. And one way we do this is that we look in the visuals, like the colors that they use for the banner. We make sure there is a mission statement stated there as well, so that the person visiting the profile knows exactly what they do. We optimize their profile picture as well, the hashtags that they're using. We make sure that their experience is enhanced in the right way as well. We optimize the about sections, everything that is LinkedIn essentials. And then we move to step three, which is content creation, engagement, and networking. So in this stage, we understand what is their target audience and what is the message that they want to convey. Let's say, for example, for an entrepreneur who's selling products, he wants to write content to his ideal audience to make sure he can drive sales through his profile. For someone who's searching for a job, we make sure to narrow it down as much as possible. So let's say for someone who's looking for a role as a project manager, we'll make sure we're creating content to attract potential recruiters for that specific role. And then, as I mentioned, the networking part, which is extremely important on LinkedIn, and you might know this as well. So, making sure that the person that I'm working with is interacting with other creators' posts, but also making sure they're sending connection requests targeted to the right people and connecting with the ones that are going to be able to up level their career. So, that's the overall strategy that we're using.
Nice. So Kaina, I'm in a job. I'm well settled. I'm not really thinking of moving now.
Mhm.
Why do I have to bother about my LinkedIn and networking and um, or maybe I do know the benefits, I don't have time for it.
Mhm.
What would
Oh,
you say for
I
me?
I love this question. I get this one all the time. People are like, "Oh, but I like my job. Why should I bother?" And I'm like, cool, but you know what? Do you actually plant a tree when you need the fruits, or do you plant it in advance so you can reap the fruits afterwards? And that's the analogy that I like to use with LinkedIn. It doesn't matter how happy you are in your career or how successful you are, you always need to network, because it can even make you more happy. It can't make you less happy. That's the thing. Look at it this way. It can only make the situation better. And also, you never know what happens with the job market. So we have seen it recently with the recent layoffs in the tech industry and the tech market. Like, you always need to be ready for a plan B and to make sure that you have a backup plan when it comes to that. So I would say, even if you feel like it's not a priority for you now, consider the fact that it might be in the future, and consider the fact that it can open the door for collaborations, for conferences, for things that will make your current role even more exciting and more personal for you.
Cool. So another person. Now I'm a fresh graduate. Don't have a lot to work with.
Mhm.
I don't know what I actually want. I just want a job, right?
Okay,
How can LinkedIn help me?
cool. So this sounds like me when I got out of college. Good question.
Okay, tell
Um,
us about that.
Totally. So, how can LinkedIn help you? Personal story time. One thing that I used to do when I got out of college and I had LinkedIn is that I would message all of the people that I realized had my dream job or were in the industry that I wanted to potentially join. So, I would make a list of, let's say, 10 people per week. I would message them and I would be like, hey, my name is Soukayna. I just graduated from my master's. I'm still exploring my professional career. I don't know exactly what I want to do, but you sound like the good person to talk to learn more about this role. And what this does is that it puts, people on a high stand, because it gives them the confidence that their role matters and that someone is interested in it. So very likely people will agree to scheduling a coffee chat with you, and then you can jump on and ask any questions that come to mind. Second thing that you can do besides connecting with people is find events that you can attend, either online events or physical events if you're, living in a city like London or Dublin that is very interactive. Then what you can do is that you can message the organizers, see if you can add value to help them organize the event or join the event itself. And once you go there, you have a table full of people to network with. Third thing you can do as well is showcase your work. So many people think that when you get out of college, you have no skills. That's completely not true. You don't have experience, maybe, but you do have skills that you have developed during this year of university. So if you have been working on a side project, if you have a portfolio with things that you gathered, if you have, let's say, initiatives that you led inside of your university, then LinkedIn is the perfect place to come to show those to the world and to make sure that this can help you to elevate your career and land your dream job.
I think that's really a wealth of things for people to do, and I think it makes it has a lot of validation coming from someone who just been there, did it themselves. So for the people who are watching us today and who are just looking for a job or just fresh graduate, so here's a couple of really amazing tips that you could actually do. So, Sakina, I want to move a little bit into the the balance. I find out what's my dream job, or
Mhm,
I found out my passion, and I have a job, I have a responsibility, I have financial, either I'm independent, I can't ask my family for money, or I have someone who depends on me.
mhm.
So I am at that stage where I'm grappling between keeping a job that financially gives me the financial support and the stability, and between going after something that I like, but it doesn't have a lot of that job security notions. What would you say to me?
Good question. So that's pretty much my life, actually. So struggling like between like a full-time job and also something that I do on the side. One thing is that I would say is time management is going to be your best friend here. Of course, we all have 24 hours in the day. They're very limited. If you work from 8 to 6, then those are already like not even contabilized in the 24 hours. But what you can do is make time outside of your main job to work on your side project. When I started doing this, when I was at Google, for example, I was working my 9 to 5, and then from 6 to like 8 p.m., I would stay extra time in the office and I would work on it. I would have calls with my clients, I would develop my project, write my newsletter, etc., etc. So I think, to be honest, when you're passionate about something, you will automatically find the time to make it fit into your schedule. And this is also what will make you understand if your side project is really the go-to side project. Because if you do it for like a week or two and then you start getting bored of it, then maybe it's not something so stable to invest that much time in. But if you, the more you do it, the more you get excited, the more you try to allocate time in advance for it for the next week, then that's definitely a sign that you're on the right path. So I would say time management, block your time, be very selfish with your calendar. You don't have to stay at work until 8 p.m. You're not paid for that. Once your work hours are done, go home, take like some break, eat something, go to the gym, and then come back and work on the things that makes you excited and passionate. So yeah, I think it's all about mindset and time management, to be honest.
I agree. I think time management is a very important, and I think discipline is also something that's
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
very important for people to keep that in mind. How do you stay motivated?
Good question. So as you said, I don't stay motivated, I stay disciplined, because if you rely on motivation, then it's gonna go away at some point. It might last for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then motivation doesn't work anymore. So that's when discipline comes in. And to stay disciplined, you really need to know why you're doing what you're doing. Why am I investing my time in this? What is the impact that I want to create, and what is the long-term vision that I have for this project? If you don't have those, it will be really hard to keep going on your side project, especially if you have a full-time job, because so many times you will feel like quitting and you will be like, it's fine, I'll just pick this up later. But later is actually now. So you might as well start developing a plan on how you can make sure you can combine a full-time job and a side hustle. So yeah, how do I stay disciplined? I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I know the impact that I want to have, and I have a vision for it. So that's pretty much what keeps me excited to do it.
So you recently wrote a book,
I did.
so which is quite inspiring for me. I tried to get the copy, but unfortunately, Amazon takes time to get it here. But I want you to tell us two things. First of all, why now? The second is what are you telling? What story are you telling in the book?
Mhm. Good question. So, first of all, why now? I have been thinking of writing a book for the longest time. Just like as a heads up, I'm a big reader. I love reading. I love being around books. Always been. So, it has always been a dream of mine to write one. Why specifically now? Because I came to a point in my life where I feel like I have a lot of value that I can share with others, especially looking back at myself like 6 years ago or 5 years ago when I was, in a different state. I was in a different environment. I didn't know much about the job markets, and then looking at myself now. So the idea that came to my mind is that I wanted to document that journey and to share the main things that I learned on the way, but also some mistakes that I made to make sure that fresh graduates who are just, diplomating now, they know exactly which questions to ask themselves, but also once they get that first job, they know if it's the right job and until will it feels right. And that's something that is a big driver of the story that I use in my book. It's if you have your dream job and it doesn't feel like your dream job after 2 years, what do you do? Does that mean that you failed in life? Does that mean that you're not qualified? And that's questions that I asked myself in my own shoes a couple of years ago. And it made me realize that jobs are not static and careers are not static, because they're based on people and people change. So what is your dream job now cannot be your dream job in 2 years, and that's completely fine. Hence the importance of attaching yourself to a mission and not to a company or a specific role. So that is, what I write about in the book, and that is exactly why I decided to write it now. To answer your first point.
I love the notion of tying yourself to a mission and not to a job. And the fact that you talk about that our dream jobs change every while and then. I think traditionally people used to look at success measured in being in the same role and growing up the ladder on that
Mhm.
job. But I think there is so much different way of kind of succeed in a different environments, different places. What is Soukayna mission?
Good question. I think Sukaina's mission is to be the best version of herself and to inspire other people to do the same on the way. Either if that's through personal branding, either if it's through career development coaching or public speaking. I want to make sure I have the best impact on every person that I meet. And I always get, so happy when people message me on LinkedIn and they're telling me that the content that I post has a positive impact on them, or it motivates them, or it inspires them, or it pushes them out of their comfort zone, because that's exactly my mission. And that's something that makes me so passionate and that is so big that no matter how much my dream job changes, I will always strive for that.
So, Sukaina, I'm sitting on my chair today, reflecting after this session, and I want to kind of formulate my mission. What do I need to do?
I think you need to think of the things that make you excited. What is it that you love doing? And it can be something very generic, it can be something very specific, it's up to you. But when are the moments where you feel the most alive within your job and outside of your job? Because it doesn't need, like, your mission doesn't need to be tied to the role that you do within your work environment. It can be something like playing football, it can be something like teaching people how to draw art, whatever it is. But think about it and think about how you can make a side hustle or a mission, an objective out of that specific statement. And I think it takes a lot of work and self reflection, and also being honest with yourself about what are the things that you enjoy and that you don't enjoy. And this is something that I had, a case that I had, for example, working with specific clients who were graduating, who maybe studied accounting for 5 years, and then they got to the point where they got their diploma and they hated accounting. They didn't want to do it. And it's such a hard place to be, because you're like, okay, now that I invested so much time into it, where do I find the strength to be honest with myself and admit that this is not what I want to do with my life? And that's where people make the mistake most of the times, to put their real intention and their real passion outside of the window for a bit and focus on things that don't drive them. So I think it takes a lot of courage and honesty to build your own mission statement and stick to it on the long run.
I think I did found myself one time at the place where the accountant was, and I think a lot of us find ourselves in such a situation. Um, Sukaina, I am an introvert. Okay, I
Mhm.
am a person who's not comfortable having being in a big audience. I kind of prefer my kind of low quiet corner. How can I do this without being having to force myself to be someone else?
Makes sense. So you're meaning like building a personal brand and being on social media, etc., right?
Yes, and like I want to build a personal brand. I want to have, but I don't want to be on a stage, or I don't want to be on a kind of live conversation. I'm a very introvert person.
Mhm.
What would I do?
Good question. Well, the good news is that you don't have to, because this is something we've seen working so well in the last years. There is something called faceless marketing that comes to my mind with this question, where people realize that even introverts, or people who are very private about their life, or their image, can build a following without basing it on sharing parts of their personal life or being present on stage. I think the internet has really revolutionized this concept, because you can pretty much decide under which format you want to sell your product, services, or to offer a specific consultancy. For instance, if you're an introvert who doesn't like to be on stage or speak on stage or be live on events, then you can think of creating an ebook, for example. You can look for a format that is more, let's say, kind of private, and it doesn't expose you as much as others would do. You can decide to write your own book. You can decide to create a podcast, and this is something I've seen working so well as well during my time on LinkedIn, is the podcast format. So you kind of have the chance to have people on your podcast every week, ask them questions, like enlighten the audience, but at the same time you're not showing your face. You're just using your voice, and you're not sharing anything about your personal life. So I think with the current situation, like where the internet has taken us, and there's so many options that we have, it's definitely the best time for introverts to start building their own brand, and especially to know that you don't need to put yourself out there completely to be able to build credibility and to build an audience. You just need to put that effort in the quality of your work. And once you deliver work that has high quality, then it will speak for you. And that's the way you will be able to build a brand that is not based on visibility.
Love that. Um, so a lot of people, I'm gonna go back to the confidence, and I love fake it till you make it kind of notion. But I want to talk about people who are in environments that's not very supportive of them doing things different. Like people who don't have people in their closest circle that will tell them you can do it, you can make it, you can do whatever you want to do. And what would be your advice for people who are in these kind of situations?
So I would say, first of all, make sure you surround yourself with the right people. It's extremely important to know that the people who are around you and their ideas and their energies, something that will really affect the way that you think, because the conversation that you have will be a mix of your ideas and their ideas. So they will indirectly influence what you do, what you don't do. Again, the good thing about the internet is that you can easily connect with people who have the same mindset as you do. And I would say look for those people. If it's on LinkedIn, if it's at events, if it's at fairs, if it's at whatever it is, go out there and look for those people who can help you to level up, because that's essentially how you grow as a person. If you have the chance to travel, go to other country, meet people in conferences in those countries and see how those people think, and that's going to give you the right tools to make sure you can set yourself up for success. But the worst thing you can do is closing yourself in a circle that doesn't inspire you and doesn't give you anything as an added value when it comes to your personal and professional life.
So whoever is hearing us today, just throw yourself out there. Nothing bad can come out of there. Sakina, courage. Let's talk about courage. And let's talk about doing things that scare us. How
Mhm.
do you do that?
Well, I think this kind of goes back to what I said. Like, I just do it before I can even think if I can do it or not. Essentially, what happens is that once you've done this a couple of times, you realize that your mind has always got your back and that your survival instincts will always kick in. And this is something, for example, that I was confronted with in the very beginning when I was starting my side hustle. I didn't necessarily have an offer or a package to offer a client, but when they would approach me and they would be like, "Hey, do you offer personal branding services?" I'd be like, "Yes, of course." And then I'd figure it out before the call comes. And again, like your survival instinct kicks in and you're forced to be creative and to find a way to cope with the thing that you committed to. So you will be in a state where you have no choice than finding a solution and you will have a deadline for it. And I think this is, for me, this is something that worked really well because I'm like, I can't escape this. I can't postpone it. I can't be like, oh, I'll do it next month. There's someone who needs my commitment. I gave it to them. Now let's figure this out. And essentially, I found out that this works for anything else. Like if it's a public speaking opportunity and I'm scared of going on stage, I will accept anyway. And then I'll figure it out in the next days before the speech happens. So yeah, take that leap of faith forward, and nothing really bad can really happen, to be honest. Like it can be that bad that you can't recover from it anyway.
How do you recover when things goes wrong?
Good question. So what you do when things go wrong, you process what went wrong, you understand why it went wrong, and you learn what can you can do better so it doesn't go wrong next time. So again, it's part of the natural human instinct of failure and learning. You can't learn something unless you fail at it. Sometimes you can, but you will have to go through some failures in your life. And that's again what will give you the power and the story to inspire other people to do better. So I think it's a very circular concept that everyone goes through, even the best of the best that you will see out there, your most successful, stereotypes of people that you can have, they have gone through the same process of failure and they are still going through it on a different scale. So you need to normalize the fact that you can't succeed on something without trying first, and that whenever you try something, there is a possibility of failure. So that's totally fine as well.
So, Sukaina, coaching and mentoring, how that plays in Sukaina journey.
That makes Sukaina very excited every time she does it, for sure. I honestly love speaking to people and coaching them because I don't even think coaching is the right word. I think you're literally helping people to realize their own potential. So you're unlocking something in them. And this happens very naturally because most of the time, those people just need someone to open their eyes and to give them that leap of faith and courage to understand what their skills are. And being that person who can facilitate the whole process, I just find it extremely like great, like gratifying from a professional but also personal perspective. And I think like being part of that person's discovery journey and learning journey is something that marks you for life, because it's not like it's not like a gift, a physical gift that you can give someone. It's literally like a transformational process that you're part of, and it's a permanent impact that you're having on that person. So that's how I see coaching and mentoring. And essentially, it comes back to me by helping me grow as a person as well, understanding my own limitations and pushing through them. So I think it's a give and take concept, and it's something that made me grow a lot as a person since I started doing it.
Amazing. Sukaina, I want to go back to you leaving Google, and I'm not talking about the reasons that you left, but a lot of people might think of like, why would someone leave a big name?
Mhm.
Or I'm working for a big name or a big company. Like, why should I leave? What's your take on that?
Good question. Honestly, between me and you, it took me a lot of time to figure that one out because I loved Google. I loved the people. I loved my team, my manager. Like, it was a really hard decision to do. And I think what happened when I was at Google is that I loved Google so much that it became part of my identity. So I was a Googler at heart. I enjoyed being there. I would spend most of my time in the office, etc., etc. So when I started thinking about leaving, it almost felt like leaving a part of myself. And I think this also comes from the misconception that you said that so many people look at, Googlers or people working in big tech companies, and they're like, it looks like a dream to them from the outside. So it's very hard for them to understand someone who would turn, turn the back to that and go somewhere else. But I think it took me a lot of honesty with myself. It took me sitting down and understanding if what I was doing was aligned with my mission, my deeper and inner mission, and if I would see myself there in the next years. And essentially, the answer was no, but it took me a lot of time to act on that answer and to understand that it was time for me to go and to live, other experiences somewhere else. And this is also a conversation that I had with my manager. Like, he was super supportive because I was really struggling with understanding if Google was my place to be for the next years to come, or if I had just came at the end of, the time that I had to pass there and I needed to go for something else. And the advice that I always received was to make sure that I was making decisions based on my own happiness and the things that I wanted to fulfill for my own life. And that's when I was like, okay, Google is going to be there. If I decide to leave and in a couple of years I feel like coming back, I feel like I could do that. But if I stay right now and I turn the back to all of the things that make me excited, then I might regret that. And that's what took me to understand that I needed to detach and I needed to, drift away and discover new things and try new experiences before I could eventually think as coming back to Google at some point.
Great. So kind of, I want to go to the area where for some people, dream job is kind of like that binky or that like kind of fantasy of doing things that we love all the time and things that we're always excited for. Is that the case for you?
It's absolutely not. I mean, everything in life comes with good sides and bad sides. And I think at some point you'll understand that it applies for everything that you go through your professional career, a relationship, anything. Like, it always has good sides and bad sides. And you need to kind of decide how to figure them out and how to make sure both work for you. So I think you need to, like, people need to understand that a dream job doesn't mean that everything is perfect. It just means that you find fulfillment and purpose in what you do. And that is a big thing to find, honestly. So if you find that and some things are wrong, you're doing good. Don't worry too much. But yeah, I think we need to stop idealizing, dream careers and dream companies, because at the end of the day, dreams are based on people and people are different. So what sounds like a dream to someone might not be to someone else. Expectations from people to people vary as well. So yeah, use the term and the idea of a dream job to motivate you and to craft your own mission, but understand that you will never get to a point where everything is perfect. And it doesn't matter how much money you're making, where you're working, who your colleagues are, whatever it is, there will always be a pile of things that you will need to deal with.
So I am in a job now, and this job is extremely stressful.
Mhm.
And I do have certain set of responsibility. I'm just kicking off my personal brand journey, or I'm realizing that I have to do it. But at this stage, like in Arabic, we say "anq الزجاجة," like I'm at that kind of
Yeah.
the neck of the bottle. I'm in between. What would your recommendation be for someone at that stage?
Mm-hmm. So I think there is no general recommendation here because it will depend from the situation of that person. Obviously, their financial situation, can they afford to leave the job and to leave from their savings maybe for the first months? No,
They
as
cannot.
okay, they cannot. Then what I would do here is two things. If the job is extremely stressful, where the point where it starts affecting your mental health, I would quit for me personally, but this is not something to take as like a guideline for life. For me, I would quit the job. I would make sure I'm applying for jobs and I have something lined up so that I can have a plan B when I'm working on my side hustle. If the job is a bit stressful, but you can deal with it, then use the stress as a motivation to work more on your personal brand, but still keep applying for jobs just in case your personal brand takes longer to start generating revenue than you think it will. So, whatever it is, just make sure you don't leave yourself in a position where you're just stressed and you don't know nothing about it. Because many people are stressed and that's it. They live with the stress, they get used to it, they normalize it, and at some point they burn out. But make sure the stress is a trigger for you to make something out of it.
I love the analogy. I wanna ask you a question because I think a lot of people who are out there looking for a job have that. I am applying left, right, and center,
Mhm.
and no one is coming back to me.
Well, if you're applying left, right, and center, then I don't think you should expect anyone to come back to you because that clearly means that you don't know exactly what you want to do. And you're not giving a good image to a recruiter to get you hired for a job. And this is another thing that I tell people all the time when they ask me about career coaching. You need to define your career goals. Of course, maybe you don't know the role or the company you want to work for, but don't apply left and right. Don't just throw all of your energy into every basket. Make sure you niche down what your application is going to be, which companies you want to go to, and what career you want to pursue, and then tailor down 10 profiles of recruiters for that specific company. Apply for jobs and send them a message. Even if there are no positions open, send a spontaneous message. Hey, name of the recruiter, quick words about yourself. I've seen that you're working or you're recruiting at this company. I would love to have a quick chat and see if you have any roles open. Make yourself proactive. And there is literally no excuse for not doing that, especially with platforms such as LinkedIn. You literally have access to everyone. So don't use that energy to throw your eggs in every basket. Focus on one basket and make sure you're taking the right moves to fill that specific basket. And I promise you, it's going to pay off. There is no reason why it shouldn't, especially if you stay consistent in the long run.
So, Kaina, how do you stay educated? How do you go about your personal development, and how do you stay to date with what's happening around you?
Mhm. So I think for me, reading has always been a big part of it. Through reading, I was able to discover many topics that I'm passionate about today, and that's also what helps me like deepen my knowledge when it comes to that. The second thing I would say is conversations, and people don't really see this as educational most of the time, but the people you engage with and the conversation you have are something that will either make or break your level of education too. Because if you're making sure you're surrounding yourself with educated people, with smart people, it can be your friends, it can be your clients, it can be your colleagues, then you're always adding value through every conversation that you have with them. So I would say for me, reading, conversations, traveling as well. I think traveling makes you educated on an even higher level, which is maybe not books level or university level, but you get confronted to your other human beings, other cultures, other ways of dealing with things, and that essentially fills up into your brain and your psychology, and it gives you new ideas, it gives you excitement, and it even revives passion for things that you might have lost track on.
Book recommendation that you would share with people who are listening to you today?
Is it biased if I share my book's name? Or,
Definitely.
well, that could be somewhere.
Definitely. I will actually share the link for the book on the chat so people can actually get that. But um, and
In terms of
what
books,
what's yeah,
yeah, yes.
go
Sorry, I
ahead.
was. in terms of books that I'm reading at the moment that I can share, there is a book called The Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett that a friend of mine recommended actually. And it's very good. And I really like this kind of books because it's a mix of business and personal developments. And the author really goes through the things that made a big impact on his business, but not things such as management or such as accounting or quantifiable, let's say, things, but things related to personality, to networking, to marketing, to putting yourself out there, and how that was able for him to drive major revenue. Another thing that comes to my mind as well would be Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I think you might know that, Razan. It's quite popular, but it's also something that really helped me when it came to defining my mission statement and understanding in which direction I wanted to go, especially, after quitting Google and having to start kind of again from there.
Yeah, I love those two recommendations. I didn't read the book for Stephen Bartlett, but I am a big fan of the podcast.
Okay,
And anyone who's
amazing.
listening to us today, if you are not watching that podcast, you definitely need to get into it. I love how like every episode from that podcast is actually I walk away with a book to read, a
Hmm.
course to do, like a very, very one of my best podcasts that I'm following.
Hmm.
Simon Sinek is like one of my top kind of like influences that I really,
Okay.
really love listening to him and reading his book for sure, definitely.
Absolutely. And
Um,
there is also a book like that I actually read when I was in college. I think it's called The Personal MBA. That's also something I definitely recommend, especially for people getting started in the field of marketing and business. That's something that gave me a lot of inspiration when I had, just graduated.
Definitely. I will definitely get that one as well. I didn't read that one.
Amazing.
Thank you for the recommendation. I will share all the links in the chat for people to kind of reach out to. So, Kaina, I want you to tell us about being a board member on Net for Tech.
Absolutely. So this is an opportunity that I got approached about by a speaker that I met at an event that I attended in Berlin last November. Essentially, what Net for Tech does is that it's the leading platform for women in the tech field within Germany. So we try to make sure that women are empowered and are given the right opportunities to make sure they can make their skills shine. So what I do as a board member is that I support in the organization of events within Germany. I facilitate some of them by joining as a speaker or by interviewing the panelists as well. And by essentially making sure we're constantly thinking of things we can do to make women feel inspired and steadfast on their mission as well. So that's a big, let's say, summary of what we do, but there is a lot more as well.
I'm really interested in a lot of people might say, oh, board member, that's a big thing. Like, I don't have the right experience for this. What would you say to people who kind of say that?
Well, I would say that I'm the youngest in the team when it comes to like the board members. So I agree about where you're coming from. It can be very intimidating to see people who are, more experienced than you, who are older than you. But at the same time, being young is also a power because you have a more innovative way of looking at things. And if you can prove that to these people, then they will trust you with higher responsibilities. And this is something that my colleagues at Net for Tech really love, is that I'm always able to offer a fresh overview of things and to come up with things that maybe they didn't think about. And I think the power of building a strong community is by making sure that you're playing on the diversity of it as well, including people from different backgrounds, but also from different ages. So, yeah, short answer, it can be intimidating from the outside, but if it's in a field that you're passionate about, once you get in, honestly, it's a lot of fun. It's not just hard work and titles, it's really fun.
I love that. And I love what you mentioned about being young as a power. I think the world is getting younger, and I think the the young generation have a lot to add to the table. And I think with the globalization, digitalization, and everything that's happening, companies and brand are realizing that they need to speak the language of the young generation, and that's kind of opened the door to a lot of people to just be brave and just put themselves out there and contribute in
Absolutely.
any way that they can actually do that. Um, Sukaina, what are you currently working on?
Okay, good question. So, what am I currently working on? I'm so happy that I finally published the book, to be honest, because it was taking a lot of my time. I always thought that it would be an easy process, but there are different steps to it. So, happy it's completed. What am I working on? Obviously, I have my 9 to 5 job, so that takes away a lot of my time. What I'm working on the side is my personal branding services on LinkedIn. So I'm looking into onboarding more B2B clients, so working with companies instead of just individuals. So I would say that's my focus for the next couple of months. And I also have a couple events that I'm attending as a speaker in the next months. So, public speaking, women empowerment as well. We have some initiatives going on with the Net for Tech network in Germany. So kind of very busy, to be honest, but busy with the right things. So that's good to say. So yeah, that would be, let's say, a general overview of my main tasks at the moment.
That's a good. So good luck with everything that you
Thank you.
currently working on. But I think my questions, I want to kind of just touch base on the networking piece
Mhm.
and the event piece. So I'm out there, I'm putting myself out. I want to get a speaking opportunity, but I don't have that authority yet. Two tips that you could share with me to do that.
Mhm. I would say make sure you're in the same room as people who have that authority. So if you can join an event as a speaker, then go as an attendee and then network there. That's something that really helped me in the beginning as well, because I would go somewhere, I would meet some of the speakers, we'd have a chat and then be like, "Oh, I'm very like impressed by your background. Do you want to be a speaker at the next event?" And that's how opportunities start coming in. So even if you don't think that you have that authority or you don't have a big following in terms of audience on social media, make sure you take a step to put yourself in the rooms where the opportunities can find you. I think this would be the first one. Second thing, you can do some cold outreach on LinkedIn. So you can start reaching out to event organizers for small organizations. Sometimes, colleges or schools or very small like foundations have this event where they're currently looking for speakers. So you can leverage on that. Obviously, it might not be realistic for you to go such like after events such as TED Talks or big conferences from the beginning, but make sure you plant in the seed by connecting with people who are holding smaller events. And once your name gets out there and you have a couple of events that you can post about and boost your credibility, then you will be able to land bigger speaking opportunities as well.
Great. So I want you also to share with some of the people any tips that you would share for networking. So for some people, it's quite daunting to um, go and speak with people, like just opening up. Like some people are kind of extrovert, it's easy for them to go and talk to whoever, but some people they feel a bit shy or not confident enough. And I know we talked about just fake it until you kind of make it, but how, like, a tip, something that helped you kind of faking it or making it without sounding nervous, or just a dose of encouragement, as they say.
Of course. So I think making things less formal than they need to be is something that takes away a lot of pressure from your shoulders. So let's say, for example, there is someone you're really looking up to, you admire, their career or their journey or whatever. Instead of sending a long message about it, just ask them to meet for a coffee chat, maybe a virtual coffee chat, and break the ice with that. If you feel like you're not, confident enough to approach people through messages, then maybe what you can do online is leave some comments or some likes or some support on their content, because at least it's going to show them that you're there and that you're supporting them, and they will probably return the favor. And once you need to ask them for advice or to connect with them for a specific opportunity, then you will already have like a specific layer of trust and a foundation of communication that has already been laid out. So I think that would be my advice. In terms of like being an introvert and having to network, again, I think the internet brings a lot of value, because if you think about it, in the past people didn't have this opportunity. Like if you wanted to talk to someone, you needed to go there and face them, but now you have the possibility to be behind the screen which can be a very good thing sometimes to have that first interaction before, getting more personal and getting more connected to someone. So I would say leverage that to your own favor.
So, kind of, we can wrap this without touch base on being in a room where you are the youngest, you are the woman, you are the hijabi. It's different.
I
How do
love
you
I
go
honestly,
about that?
yeah, I honestly love that because many people think that it might be something intimidating, but for me, especially alhamdulillah, since I've been wearing my hijab in 2022, I feel like this brought me so much barakah. Like it helps me stand out even more, and it helps me to break the bias for many people and many women who might not be able to do that at the moment. So for me, like being an inspiration for like not very widely represented communities is something that pushes me even more to show that you can be a Muslim woman, you can wear your hijab and be close to your faith, you can work in big companies, you can have your own clients, you can speak at big events with people who are twice your age and who are from different nationalities. It's all possible, and being able to inspire other women to take that step of faith is something that honestly makes me so excited and makes me feel so grateful to be doing what I'm doing.
Love that. So, kind of, as we wrap this up in our last 5 minutes, things that you wished someone have told you when you just starting this journey.
Okay, that's a very deep question to answer in a couple of minutes. But I think something that would have changed a lot of things for me is to understand that it all comes down to the way that I think about myself. And many people, when they read this, they think it's just some kind of intellectual quote or whatever. But I can promise you that if you shift your mindset from understanding that your self confidence is going to either make your career or break it, you will start seeing things in a whole different world because you will have your own vision, and whoever will come to question it, it's not going to affect you because you know exactly who you are and where you're going. So you will be able to take advice from people, to take criticism, but you will not be able to take someone deviating you from the things that you're passionate about because you will have set boundaries for yourself. This is something I would definitely have loved to hear before, especially as I said, moving countries different times, starting college, and high school in France without speaking French. I was always very insecure about my skills and my background. But if I had known that, I think I would have invested more people worrying about, like more time, sorry, worrying about what I think about me instead of worrying about what people think about me.
I think self-doubt is something that we all kind of grapple with. I personally um, think that surrounding yourself with people who can lift you up, someone that you would just pick up the phone and they can kind of figure out from your voice that you're down, or people that you know that when you go to them and you say, oh, I don't think I can do that, or I don't think I'm capable of doing that, or I'm not good enough, they will look at you in the eye and say, no, you are
Absolutely. Mhm.
capable of doing that. So I think having that support system, whether a friend, a family, a coach, a mentor,
It
makes a
makes a
big
difference.
difference
Absolutely.
in people's
And
lives.
I would also add being that person for others. So don't just focus on finding those people for you, but be that person yourself first, because that's going to make a big impact on your surroundings.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, Kaina, one thing that you would want people to walk away from our conversation today.
I think if there is one thing, it's believe in yourself and believe in the things that you can do. And whatever it is that you're pushing to later or that you're too scared to start, do one action today that will bring you closer to it.
How can people reach out to you?
I think LinkedIn mostly. That's where I'm all the time. But also, if Razan wants to share my email, then I will also make sure it's linked in the chat box below.
Nice. I'll be sharing all the resources that Sukaina had kindly shared with us, as well as her email. I really enjoyed this conversation, Sukaina. I hope everyone who joined us today had enjoyed it as well. And next week, we will be talking about building resumes that shine. And I love what Sukaina mentioned earlier about a resume that glow and tell a story. So stay tuned and join us next week for another very, very inspiring and insightful conversation. Thank you so much, Sukaina, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Razan. It was a pleasure, and I really, really enjoyed this conversation as well.
Thank you. Thank you.